Hey, listeners. It's Cheyenne again, your DM from Chicks with Crits, the sun, the moon, and what falls between. It's time again for another story. This time, I'm going to be reading you guys the fairy tale, The Fairies, or Toads and Diamonds. There was once upon a time a widow who had two daughters. The eldest was so much like her in the face and humor that whoever looked upon the daughter saw the mother. They were both so disagreeable and so proud that there was no living with them. The youngest, who was a very picture of her father for courtesy and sweetness of temper, was withal one of the most beautiful girls ever seen. As people naturally love their own likeness, this mother even doted on her eldest daughter, and at the same time had a horrible aversion for the youngest. She made her eat in the kitchen and work continually. Among other things, this poor child was forced twice a day to draw water above a mile and a half off the house and bring home a pitcher full of water. One day, as she was at the fountain, there came to her a poor woman who begged her to let her drink. "Oh, with all my heart, goody," said this pretty little girl, and rinsing immediately the pitcher, she took up some water from the clearest place of the fountain and gave it to her, holding the pitcher all the while that she might drink easier. The good woman, having drunk, said to her, "You are so very pretty, my dear, so good and so mannerly, that I cannot help giving you a gift." For this was a fairy, who had taken the form of a poor countrywoman to see how far the civility and good manners of this pretty girl would go. "I will give you a gift," continued the fairy, "that at every word you speak there shall come out of your mouth either a flower or a jewel." When this pretty girl came home, her mother scolded her for staying so long at the fountain. "I beg your pardon, mamma," said the poor girl, "for not making more haste." And in speaking these words there came out of her mouth 2 roses, 2 pearls, and 2 diamonds. "What is this I see there?" said the mother, quite astonished. "I think I see pearls and diamonds come out of the girl's mouth. How did this happen, child?" This was the first time she ever called her child. The poor creature told her frankly all the matter, and not without dropping out infinite numbers of diamonds. "In good faith," cried the mother, "I must send my child hither. Come hither, Fanny. Look what comes out of thy sister's mouth when she speaks. Wouldst not thou be glad, my dear, to have the same gift given to thee? Thou hast nothing else to do but go out and draw water out of the fountain, and when a certain poor woman asks you to let her drink, give it to her very civilly." "That would be a very fine sight indeed," said this ill-bred minx, "to see me go draw water." "You shall go, hussy," said the mother, "and this minute." So away she went, but grumbling all the way, taking with her the best silver tankard in the house. She was no sooner at the fountain than she saw coming out of the wood a lady most gloriously dressed, who would come up to her and ask her to drink. This was, you must know, the very fairy who appeared to her sister, but now had taken the air and dress of a princess, to see how far this girl's rudeness would go. "I am come hither," said the proud, saucy one, "to serve you with water, pray. I suppose the silver tankard was brought purely for your ladyship, was it? However, you may drink out of it if you have a fancy." "You are not over and above mannerly?" questioned the fairy, without putting herself in a passion. "Well then, since you have so little breeding, and are so disobliging, I give you for a gift that at every word you speak there shall come out of your mouth a snake or a toad." So soon as her mother saw her coming, she cried out, "Well, daughter?" "Well, mother," answered the pert hussy, throwing out of her mouth 2 vipers and 2 toads. "Oh, mercy!" cried the mother. "What is it I see? Oh, it is that wretch, her sister, who has occasioned all of this, but she shall pay for it." And immediately she ran to beat her. The poor child flew away from her and went to hide herself in the forest, not far from thence. The king's son, then on his return from hunting, met her, and saw her so very pretty, and asked her what she did there alone, and why she cried. "Alas, sir, my mamma has turned me out of doors." The king's son, who saw 5 or 6 pearls and as many diamonds come out of her mouth, desired her to tell him how that happened. She thereupon told him the whole story, and so the king's son fell in love with her, and, considering himself that such a gift was worth more than any marriage portion, conducted her to the palace of the king, his father, and there married her. As for the sister, she made herself so hated that her own mother turned her off, and the miserable wretch, having wandered about a good while without finding anybody to take her in, went to a corner of the woods and there died. That's the end there of Toads and Diamonds, or the fairy. You guys can probably guess. That was the inspiration for the old woman at the well that the party helped at the beginning of the campaign. They of course got a little magical porridge pot, but that's a story for another time. Thankfully, the group was kind enough to this fairy, the fairy in our game, that they didn't end up getting cursed with, toads or vipers. Although, I think the party might have actually liked that. Oh well. Thank you guys for listening, and keep on cluckin'.